This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
So we got a restaurant here that's complaining about the pilot lights blowing out from the makeup air. So, but when I look up, they have cardboard in their perforated vents. You see how we got these perforated vents right here? Okay, but there's supposed to be a second baffle, a second perforated cover right here. And without that, this is the main supply duct from the makeup air unit. It's unrestricted right here, and the air comes down. And when I had it on and running, I have it off right now, those pilot lights are just dancing around and they blow out. But it's because someone went and took down these secondary screens for some reason. So I gotta find good secondary screens or call the manufacturer. I might be able to get, oh, you know what? I think I can get it from the manufacturer because there's a tag right there. So we're gonna have to contact them. But yeah, when you don't have these secondary baffles in on these makeup air units, it needs the baffles go up there so that way it has an even restriction in theory, so that way it evenly comes out of everything. So we're currently taking them down, but you can see there is another drop right here. But on this one, the second baffle's there. So by having the second baffle, it helps to load it up and have even flow and create the proper restriction across it. Now what's interesting is when I come over here, because I got a lot of them pulled out, over here, I can actually tell there's two screens. So there's this screen that we can see, and there's another screen above it. So I wonder if there's a lot of baffles missing from these. So we're over here washing these things, the upper screens, because look at, like, they're really bad, really dirty. So we're getting those washed, but actually it looks like there's enough screens. They were just doubled up elsewhere for some reason. So I don't know if someone was trying to solve a different problem and created a bigger problem. I have no idea. This has been going on for years, apparently, from what they're saying. So, all right, we're gonna get this one put up. But yeah, it looks like we have enough screens to do everything. Okay, their complaint is pilot lights, and then they also have smoke rolling out of the hood on the other side. Because look, when they drop the chips in the fryers, everything just rolls out of the hoods. That's our returns for the kitchen, and they're saying they're getting smoke in the restrooms. Well, one of those is the office AC, which feeds the restrooms. So they're pulling the smoke right up into the returns, and then also, it looks like their ceiling's falling down. So the first thing we have to do is clean these, because I already knew these secondary screens were there. So when I pulled the first one down to clean it, I realized they were missing. But for whatever reason, someone like took this one and had it sitting on top of that one. And I don't know why, because the duct is over here. The only thing I could think of is sometimes they think that this is air conditioning and they want to feel airflow. So someone, staff, might have taken them down because they want to feel the airflow in the summer. I don't know. But anyways, we put all the perfs back up, right? The secondary screens all the way down the line now, all the way down. And at this point, we're gonna put up the primary screens, and then we're gonna take all their cardboard out of them because they had cardboard blocking them off, and we're gonna turn it on and see what happens. All right, we are back on and running. We have both sets of screens in, and their pilots are still dancing. Pretty good. Not as bad as earlier, but yeah, they're dancing. But okay, I mean, that's not too bad though. It's not blowing them out. Let's see over here. No, definitely not gonna blow it out on this. Okay, so now we gotta test and see. They gotta operate with their kitchen like that, but it's pretty even supply air coming out of here. I'm feeling it coming out of here. Well, I will say it's a little bit more coming out of here as opposed to the other side, but it's pretty good. Now we gotta try to get this exhaust fan pulling more air, but we gotta look at these filters too, because these filters look dirty to me. And they're complaining that from their fryer, the smoke is rolling out. And I watch it. It rolls out. See the return air grills for the ACs, and it's pulling up into there. But if you look, this fryer is right at the edge of the hood. And if you look over here, someone added this extension for a bigger griddle. They moved the fryers over 18 inches, 12 inches, whatever that is. And the fryers are supposed to be, any cooking appliances are supposed to be 6 inches in from the hood. And because of that extension and that bigger griddle, this one is right to the edge of the hood. So the return has better suction than this does. Like from down here, smoke, it pulls smoke up, but just not as much. This right here, the smoke is kind of lazy, it comes out, and then it goes to the returns. My filters are covered in grease. So we might not be able to solve this problem, but what I am gonna do is speed up this exhaust fan after I check these hood filters as fast as I can. All right, we also came back to their prep hood and did the same over here. Oh yeah. So cleaned them, double screen, all that stuff. So now their system's back in operation. Let's go look at their hood filters. This is where this new air tracer really comes into play. I made a short and people were criticizing me because I don't need it, but for things like this, it's perfect because I can watch. If I put it right where it is, like every once in a while we get down low, which is where the smoke comes out, it dances and goes over that way. It's not horrible right now, but it does get worse. And then if we move it over more, like to where the fryer should be, it pulls up almost all the smoke up to the hood. And I'm doing it from down low so that way, because that's where the smoke's coming out. When we go up higher, and obviously then it really starts pulling in. Okay, yeah. All right, well, we're gonna go up and we're gonna speed up this exhaust fan right here as fast as we can. This is our makeup air unit. Now, we're about to speed up one of their exhaust fans, so we're gonna negatively impact the air balance. If we speed this up, in theory, we need more makeup air, but we're gonna get everything we can out of this. I checked it yesterday. We have 1 amp of room left on the motor, meaning it's running under amps by a full amp. So we can speed it up as long as we don't go past the maximum fan speed, which usually it says it on here somewhere, I thought. Maybe it doesn't say it. We might have to look it up, but there is a maximum speed for this fan, and we don't want to overdo that because then in theory you can cause problems with the wheel and stuff. But I don't think we're going to overdo it. So we're going to speed this up as much as we can, see how that affects their smoke pull, and then adjust the makeup air accordingly. All right, so we've got this guy right here. Forgive the wind noise. It's kind of tricky to find the middle sometimes. 1206 is the RPMs of the motor. I think it's a little off still. I gotta try to get it. There we go. It's not vibrating as much. 1207, 1206 is the RPMs of the motor. Now, we'll test the current of the motor, and we've got 1 amp left. It's running at 3.7. We're allowed to run 4.7. So, we're gonna speed this up. Now why? When we installed this exhaust fan in 2019, we marked it at 3.7 amps. It's still there, but now they moved their fryers over, so we're gonna do everything we can. Now you gotta be careful playing with air balance because you can really mess things up, but we gotta do everything we can, short of replacing the entire cook's hood, you know, or kitchen hood, to get this thing sped up, and then we'll deal with the air balance issues after that. All right, we shut down the fan. We know we were running 1206, 1207. We know we were running 3.7 amps because I checked it yesterday. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna close down this motor pulley. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna speed up the exhaust fan, right? But we gotta pay attention that we don't go over the motor amps, and we also gotta pay attention that we don't go too fast, but we're not gonna go too fast. We're probably only gonna get 1 turn out of this, maybe 1.5. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Belt's tight, so we will have to adjust that. So we gotta start by loosening the motor bolts, and then we'll close down the pulley, speed it up, and see where that gets us. Ratchet wrench with a pivoting head. You can buy Harbor Freight ones or really expensive ones. I go through these enough that the Harbor Freight ones work good for me. Even when I buy the expensive ones, I just lose them. But the pivoting head is so nice because we got to get down under this bracket down here to get to the bolt to move this motor bracket. So, because the motor bracket has 4 bolts, one down here that you can't see right now, one right here, and then vice versa, same on the other side. So now the motor can pivot, we can close this pulley down and properly tension up the belt. Now what I did was I loosened the set screw on the top, right? And then now I can turn it. So we're gonna go, that's 1 full turn. We're gonna try 2 full turns and see what that does. 2 full turns, and we're gonna see where that gets us as far as the current, making sure we're not overamping the motor. So I'm gonna tighten it all back down. This is a lengthy process because when I do this, it's gonna change everything. All right, I temporarily just tightened the top bolts, got it running. We're running at 4.4 amps and we're allowed to run 4.7. I'm gonna double check that, but I'm pretty sure, I know we're allowed, I thought we had a whole amp. So I'm gonna double check on the motor. I got it right here. And I'm looking, yeah, 4.7 amps. I can see it on the motor, right? Full load amps, 4.7. Okay, so we have a little room to go a little bit faster, so we're gonna speed it up a little bit more. With the pulley closed down all the way, as far as I can go, we're right at 4.6 amps. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I could put another pulley on there and get another half turn, but honestly, depending on, I don't know the ratings of the fan. So I know that motor came with it. We should be able to run the motor full speed, but technically we might be able to put a bigger motor on this, but then you really start pushing the button. I'd have to find out the engineering specs to see how fast we can spin the wheel on this so that way it doesn't come apart. But that's the max we can get. So let's test the speed, the RPMs. I'm gonna turn it back off. Now by doing what I did, I might have changed the pulley or something, because now it's closing down. It might not be perfectly lined up. We need to dial that in real quick, make sure the belt's aligned, the pulleys are aligned, the motor's properly tightened on the top and the bottom, because I've only been tightening on the top bracket. So I need to get the bottom down, make sure it's even. Check that. We'll get it all tightened up properly, and then we'll test the RPMs. All right, we got quite a few RPMs, a little bit over 100 RPMs of increased speed. Next thing we need to do is just verify 100% that this guy's running in the right direction. We're gonna shut it down before we go any further. And we need to make sure it should, let's see, it's spinning clockwise. I need to verify clockwise is the correct rotation on this. All right, directional arrow down there is saying this should be spinning clockwise. That's the rotation it's spinning. We're good on that. Okay, so now this guy's running as fast as it can with the existing motor. Now in theory, if there's room for the fan to spin faster, but I gotta talk to Greenheck, it might be able to scan this and find out, I don't know. But in theory, maybe we could put a bigger motor on it and get a little bit more out of it, but you just gotta be careful, because you don't wanna overspin these and cause the wheel to, you know, basically come apart. So this guy's moving. We're gonna go downstairs and see. I don't know if it made a huge difference. So essentially we got 2.5 turns out of it, speeding it up. So let's see if it made any kind of a difference. Another thing to understand that I was just explaining to my coworker is that placement of the thing. So technically they want it down here. Notice that we actually end up right at 4.8 when we move it down further. There's like a happy place to where you're supposed to check these on meters and stuff. And also too, you gotta make sure it's making good connection up there. So we are technically running 4.8, 4.9, but we're fine because we have that room in the motor. Even though it says full load amp 4.7, we can go slightly over, ever so slightly, right? Something like that is minute, but ideally, you know, you don't want to push it any further. So, all right, well, we're gonna do some research and find out what the maximum RPMs of this fan is. I might see a slight improvement, but not much. I mean, it still dances around a little bit. Smoke coming out of here. I mean, maybe, but yeah, you see, we're still getting smoke trailing over there, that way, a little bit. I mean, it might be a little bit better, but the problem is down low right here, it's getting hit by the makeup air. It's weird. So when you get the smoke coming out of here, oh, I mean, look at that. That's pretty good. That's pulling up that way. Another thing they can do is have a piece of stainless attached to the hood, come down as kind of like a wall, and then go up against the wall to help contain the smoke. That way it can pull into there. But then that makes it hard for them to grab the stuff out of here and throw it in the fryer. But that's a possibility. They got a lot of different options here, but we're now gonna check the air balance. We gotta make sure we balance out the building. We might have to add more makeup air. So now we're gonna go adjust the balance and see, make sure all the outside air dampers are open on the ACs, like all that stuff. This is our makeup air unit. We wanted to make sure, because we're gonna start checking air balance and stuff, and we wanna make sure that the belt's nice and snug. It is. It could certainly be replaced, but the belt's tight, like tight enough. It's an A belt. Really should be a B belt on something this big. But I don't really want to go too much tighter than that because, well, let me see what this other belt does when I snap it on there. This one was kind of worn. This is a little bit better, definitely. But man, an A belt, this is rather big for an A belt. There should be a B belt on this thing, but that'll be a thing, having to change the pulleys because this one's meant for an A belt. Anyways, all right, so this guy's there. We made sure yesterday that the metal mesh filters were clean. They are. We made sure that the cell deck media is cleaned. It is, because that was just replaced at the end of the last season, so it's not bad. They do have a water leak right here. See this? This is leaking right here. we'll fix that, but that's not an issue right now. Right now, we're gonna put this back together. We wanted to make sure this was tight. And then now we're gonna go make sure all the outside air dampers, you gotta be careful. If you find trash in the bottom of these units, oftentimes it's holding the dirt down. And you never wanna turn these on with the panels removed because all this dirt will suck into it. Really should be vacuumed in here, but it's pretty bad. But we're gonna put all the panels back on, start it back up, and then we gotta go make sure all the outside air dampers are open and working properly and blowers are running, so that way we can check the air balance, because our air balance relies on the makeup air unit and all the outside air dampers in the ACs. Now, I'm very familiar with this restaurant. What I'm looking for is I'm looking to see if every one of these dampers is open. They need to be open slightly, right? They should all be set at about I think it's 4.5 volts, I think, from the module, I believe, is what we used to have them set at. This one's slightly open, moving some air, but we're gonna check. So we gotta get all these in operating order first. Yesterday I checked the belts. All the belts need to be tight. All the metal mesh filters need to be cleaned, which we did that yesterday. And then now we're gonna go through and make sure all the outside air dampers are open slightly. We're pulling a little bit of outside air from every AC, and then we're gonna check the air balance to the building. So we gotta do that for every AC, make sure that they're open. Now, if they're not open, then we need to fix it. What's going on? Are the dampers unplugged? I found that before. This one's slightly open, this one's probably fine. We'll look at the economizer controller in here and see what it's set for. But this one we're good with, so we're gonna move on to the next one. Every unit on this roof should have a functioning economizer that the outdoor air dampers work, except for this unit. This is an old Carrier one that's been disconnected for years. So for this one, I'm gonna manually open the damper just by loosening up the bolts, adjust the damper to where I want it, so it pulls just a little bit of fresh air, and it's just gonna be minimum outside air. It's not gonna modulate or anything. So this has been disconnected for years. For some reason, there was screws screwing the damper shut. We don't want that. I don't mind putting a screw. We will put a screw in the linkage right here, so that way it stays where we want it, just pulling our minimum outside air, but we won't do that until we get it adjusted perfectly. But in doing that, I was trying to take the screw that was going through here, screwing it shut. They're going into these holes right here, and I dropped my dang screwdriver down into the duct. So let's go see if I got a filter puller tool. I might have it with me. The other thing, man, I hate how Carrier has this stupid thing. And I know people say you got to put tape there, but you know how difficult it is to put tape when you have an economizer damper here? It's kind of silly. It's just one of the dumb things that Carrier has on their units. But anyways, I'm gonna go see if I have my filter grabber tool so I can get my screwdriver from down in that duct. All right, so I got my filter grabber tool, and I should be able to get the screwdriver. It has a magnet on it. This is the tool. I don't know if this is like this might be like a Supco thing or something. I have no idea. That was probably the original company. I don't know who distributes it now, but pretty cool tool for when you need filters and stuff. It extends out, but yeah, got my screwdriver out. So we're gonna put this guy back, and we're gonna get all the outside air dampers, like I said, opened up, and then we'll start adjusting things. So I'm not gonna permanently set this one until we get the air balance where we want it. This is a newer unit. Something's wrong with the programming because it's free cooling right now. It's like 70 degrees outside. We don't want that. But plus the minimum outside air damper wasn't open at all. I was coming over here to adjust it. I just put the Wi-Fi dongle in there, and I was just connecting the tablet, and then all of a sudden the damper started opening, and I'm like, why now? And then I realized it says free cool, yes. So it thinks it's cool enough outside to open the outside air damper. But we need that outside air damper open whenever the unit's occupied, not just when it thinks it's going into free cool. Plus, I don't want it free cooling at 70 degrees. That just messes things up for me. So we're gonna go in and reprogram this guy real quick. Spared you guys the agony of dealing with these things. These things are just not very fun to set up. But anyways, I changed the set point. It was free cooling at like 60 degrees. We wanted or 63 or 68 or something like that, but I wanted it lower. I don't know why it was set so high. So I set it lower, adjusted the outside air setting. So let's see if it's currently downloading all the stuff over. So you do the settings in here, and then you connect to this, and now it's uploading it or downloading it or whatever. But interesting, like my damper's closing right now, so I don't understand why. We gotta figure that out. That's weird. It looks like it's resetting the controller at the moment. That's probably why. All right, it just wasn't set right. In here, once I went through everything, I went into fan speed set points, and when it pops up right now, it was set too low. So we have low speed at 4.5 volts, high speed at 4 volts. So we're on low speed, I think, right now. So we've got an open outside air damper. Now we're gonna go, again, we're checking every unit to make sure they're at the minimum position, and then we're gonna check the air balance and adjust accordingly. This damper, this one has a Jade controller, and I've got it set to go to the minimum position of 4.5 volts, but the actuator's not moving. I pulled it apart, verified the actuator's getting the proper voltage, but it's just not moving at all. The other thing is that this thing looks like it's stuck in the mid position. Like it says 45 degree. I don't know, there's something weird. So I'm gonna loosen this linkage up and see if it moves freely. We might have just a bound up damper assembly here. So I loosened this set screw and now it's moving. It's just bound up. There's something in this that's bound up. So we're just gonna clean it up and see if we can get it to adjust where it's supposed to be. I gotta unplug the damper, let it reset, and then try. I think that this thing is just something was gumming it up. See, now it moves, right? But let's get this reset to the 0 position, all the way down to 0. Is it still moving? No, it's not moving anymore because I think that's the minimum position of 4.5 volts, which is like right here. But let's unplug the actuator, let it reset. So we're gonna go right here, unplug it. Okay, actuator's unplugged. So it should be springing closed now. There it goes, right? So now it's springing closed. Once it stops, then we'll close this outside air damper all the way, tighten it on, and then let's see if it closes. We also need to get in here probably and make sure there's nothing stuck in these gears. Sometimes you got to lubricate these gears, but something was bound up in there. So it had the right voltage, and it just wasn't, you know, reacting the way it should be. Something was in there. So I'm gonna clean it up a bit. So I shut the damper to the normally closed position, tighten this bolt back up. So now it's grabbing the shaft, right? And we're gonna go ahead and plug in the damper, the actuator again, and see if it opens and if it gets stuck or if it does what it's supposed to do. Okay, so we're open now. So let's give it a second and see if it opens. So we're at the 0 position. So it should, in theory, go to the 4.5 volts. In which it is. Damper's closing. So this is building air, and we're opening the outside air. Should be going to 4.5 volts, I think is what I have it set for. So we're gonna give it a second. See, it looks like we're working now. So there was just something bound up in there. Really need to go pull this whole thing out and clean it. But that's not what we're doing today. I just need these operational. So now we're minimum outside air position. So we're just going around checking that on every unit. So we have all the doors in the building shut, and we're still negative, meaning that we're pulling smoke in the building. My smoke generator, I've got the roof hatch slightly open, and you can see we still need some more makeup air. So we're gonna see if, I don't want to speed up the makeup air unit itself. I'm gonna open up the outside air dampers on the kitchen and the office just a little bit more, and see if that helps a little bit, and then we might have to go a little bit more on the other ACs too. We'll see. All right, we did everything we could with the ACs. I can't open the outside air dampers anymore. We're gonna have to open this one because we need some more makeup air still. So we were running 10.5 amps. We're allowed to run 13.6. So I'm gonna get in here and try to close down this pulley 2 turns, see if we can increase the speed just a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't start blowing out their pilots though, because the way it stands right now, their kitchen's operating great, but the whole entire building's in a negative air pressure. I wonder if I can slow down the prep hood as opposed to turning this higher. This prep hood isn't as critical. I could probably slow this down a little bit. If I slow this one down, maybe we'll compensate, because I'd rather not speed this up. We could slow it down and run a test and see if they have any issues. So the building is slightly negative still. Not as bad as it was. I don't feel a lot of air rushing in through the opening of the roof hatch. Sometimes you can see them open a front door too, because like right now a front door is open because it's blowing out, and then wait a second, and then all of a sudden, boom. Okay, so now my building is slightly, there we go, door just shut. So front door is open right now, I can tell, and then now front door is closed. Someone just came in the doors because it was going out, and then now it's coming in. But it's slightly negative, it's not bad. I still want to adjust the makeup air a little bit more, but I don't want to do it now because they're in the middle of their lunch shift, and I'm afraid I'm going to disturb a bunch of dust. So we got to just good as we can for now. We'll definitely adjust the makeup air a little bit more when we come back, but they're gonna notice a huge difference. They're already ecstatic. Like the kitchen manager came and he's already tripping out, like, because with the baffle plates in there, he's not having issues anymore. It's not blowing his pilots out. And then he's also happy with the fryers because I had him drop chips and stuff, and the chips aren't smoking out the kitchen anymore. So I still want to adjust this makeup air a little bit more, but that's pretty good for now. All right, we ended up getting in there and adjusting that. We sped it up a turn and a half. Building balance is still not perfection, but they also have some problems. They have, I want to come back, you know, another day basically. I really want them to get an air balance company out here because I'm over here just winging it, and it's like they really need to do that. But we sped up that exhaust fan as much as possible. They're gonna monitor it for a bit. We slowed down that exhaust fan, which is their prep one, so we're gonna see if they have issues with that. I don't think they will, and it's just steam, and that one is not a big deal. So, and then we sped this guy up, and then we opened up, we made sure all the outside air dampers were open to the normal level. We don't want to be pulling in too much outside air through the ACs, but obviously we want to find a happy medium of fresh air through all the ACs right here, and then, you know, obviously enough fresh air through this guy. So, I mean, they got a fighting chance now, so we're going to tell them to keep an eye on it, let us know how everything works, and then, you know, I'll probably follow up with them on the phone and see how they like it. I am not a certified air balance technician. I know just enough to get myself into trouble and just enough to make the customer happy. I always advise my customers, you know, that they get a certified company to come in there and really dial things in. So, you know, I just understand the basic principles of air balance, of, you know, negative and positive air pressures. It's a lot more than just negative and positive air pressures, though. That's why I say that they really need to get a certified air balance company, because you actually want it to control the air in the kitchen too. You know, you would like the building to be slightly positive, but the kitchen to be slightly negative. It's a whole thing. That's why they really need to get a certified company in there. They got to find the building plans, but then they're going to have to redo things because obviously things have changed in the building, right? They moved their fryers. So we do our best, but first step is to make sure everything's in proper operation, right? Makeup air unit, belts are tight, everything's working. And then on the outside air dampers for the ACs, make sure those are all moving, you know, make sure the exhaust fans are good. We sped up the fryer hood, we slowed down the prep hood, and then just dialed in the balance, and we got it pretty darn good. So the customer's actually really stoked. It's been a couple days. I've been out there. I didn't get more footage, but I've been out there, and it's pulling up all the smoke, no problem. So customer's super happy. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It's a great way to help support the channel. Couple different ways you can help support the channel. The easiest way is just watch the videos from beginning to end. Okay, that is the easiest way. Obviously, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments, feedback, whatever you think. You can go over to TrueTechTools.com. If you go over to TrueTechTools.com, that's actually where I got this air tracer from. This guy right here from RetroTech. I picked that up from TrueTech Tools, and use my affiliate code, big picture one word. You get a nice discount at checkout. I even use my affiliate code, but you get a nice discount at checkout, and then I get a small commission from it. So again, this is the air tracer from RetroTech. Pretty cool little tool just for like crude air balances like I want to do. You can get super scientific. I would love to get my hands on the grid matrix, or whatever you call them, to actually test the airflow through the exhaust fans, but it's just not something that I do enough, and that I can justify the expenses of buying a commercial flow hood that has, I think they call it a Pell grid, or whatever kind of a grid, velocity matrix. There you go, velocity matrix. I just haven't really been able to justify the cost of those things, but one day maybe I'll pick one up and learn how to use them, because that would really help me to be able to actually see the CFM numbers. Although, yeah, so that would be really cool to be able to do that. Last but not least, you can, I already mentioned going to my website, HVACRvideos.com. Actually, I didn't. HVACRvideos.com, where we have merchandise available. Great way to help support the channel from there, too. Mention TrueTech Tools. Subscribe to the channel. All that jazz. I really do appreciate you. Leave me some feedback down in the YouTube comments. Let me know what you think, and we will catch you on the next one.